Hello. Hello, hello. Hopefully everything works and you can hear me and see me. My name is Alina Osirova and today is week number 2 of our Spring Pulse program. On behalf of Compulsive, the whole team of Compulsive, I'm starting today's artist talk. And while I'm waiting for our viewers and guests to arrive, I'm going to tell you a few things about also what is ahead of us. Spring Pulse, just like 1 year ago, is an audiovisual program where we invite... I was running up and down the stairs because every time I was forgetting one piece of equipment, so I'm going to have to come back to my breath. Pulse program is an 8 weeks program that we put together for you this winter. We invited some guests from different European countries. We also ourselves mobilized and created a few pieces for you. And today's guest is Ioana Mandrescu. I already see Ioana is joining our today's talk. Ioana, if you can hear me, try now to enter my screen, if you can. Ioana. I'm gonna wave at Ioana just to make sure that she's there and she can see us. And maybe then, while Ioana is trying to join us, I will also tell a few words about Compulsive. Compulsive is a platform, but it's also a project run by 5 artists. And this is how, in a way, we're trying to in this time when we are not able yet to have as many exhibitions, sound performance events as we want, to mobilize ourselves and set some deadlines for ourselves, and also to reconnect with other artists that we like, artists that we find important, and artists that also agree to contribute with their works in progress or with special audiovisual pieces or sound pieces that they create for this program. I can read from the comments. Ioana is saying, Ioana, maybe you can try to quit it right now and then join again, and then you will see this notification for you to join. I'm also gonna try to see what I can do on my side. Okay. Ioana, I think I also now figured how I can invite you myself. If you rejoin, or Daniel, if you're around, maybe you can tell to Ioana if she could join this live feed again. Dun, dun, dun. I can see Ioana, but I cannot invite Ioana yet because that button is inactive. I can invite though Daniel, but I'm not gonna do this. We'll save it for the other time. Ioana. All right. While we are still waiting for Ioana to join us, I will reintroduce her project. Okay. All right. I think you should appear any minute now. Let's go live with Ioana. Hey.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry, that was to be expected.
It happened. It happened. You probably heard when I was completely unable to speak, so I thought I was ready, but I also wasn't very much ready. All right. Thank you for joining, Ioana. I would like to give a brief introduction. Ioana Mandrescu, a musician, a sound artist, originally coming from Romania, living and working in Brussels for already quite some years. And in this session, in this week of Spring Pulse program, Ioana is presenting a piece that we're going to talk about today. The piece is called The Children's Crusade. And then also there are a lot of, let's say, subtitles or not explanations, but author's note or co-author's note underneath this title that I guess, Ioana, you're going to talk a little bit more later. So this project, I guess maybe it makes sense to call it a project rather than an autonomous sound art piece. This project was prepared specifically for Pulse program. We put it streaming on our Pulse channel on YouTube on Thursday, and it's going to be available until Sunday. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, haven't heard it yet, I encourage you to start it doing now because it's almost 6.5 hours piece, and we're already in Saturday's evening, so you have just a little bit time left until Sunday evening when we will take it off the stream. All right, Ioana, my first pass to you would be starting from the fact that also Ioana is a founding member of Compulsive. This is what I was trying to start with when we had this little connection issue. Compulsive is an initiative of 5 artists, and this is namely Ioana Mandrescu, it's also me, it's Stan de Molenaar, it's Rebecca Glover, and Arzu. And we've been planning this session for quite a long time, already starting in September, thinking who's gonna perform when. And I guess, Ioana, you had your week already pre-selected a long time ago. You had a project in mind, or possibility for entry work. And then the situation around us changed quite dramatically. So that's also part of life, yeah, that's the original idea was not relevant that much anymore, and a new one appeared. Could you maybe tell us a little bit how, in general, how did you come to this book in this current situation and decided to make a piece with it?
Well, as you said, this was definitely not the initial plan, and definitely not my plan to make a 6.5 hours piece, which I understand can be quite challenging. I was more involved in my own little projects that I was hoping to be able to present, and as you said, the world changed dramatically in the last 4 weeks. So you have to ask yourself the question: how relevant is it, or how much sense does it have? And I'm not talking here about the world, because I'm, well, not a world-renowned artist. I'm just a silly little person. How relevant is it for you to work on something? So then I basically didn't do anything for quite some time.
Okay,
1 week or so.
I think
and
we have
then,
some. Just a second. It was reconnecting, so maybe you could just repeat the last thing that you were saying about asking yourself about, and then we had like little circle. It was reconnecting.
Yeah, asking myself how relevant is it for me, not for the world. For the world, I don't know what exactly is relevant, apart from the fact that we should all have decent home and a nice education and decent healthcare and food on the table. But how relevant is it for me to start doing something? And also, to be honest, I've lost a bit of interest in my own work. But what happened, funny enough, I was having a rather difficult night. I think it was a combination of everything, and I remembered. Yeah, we have an interruption again.
I think it also was on my side, because now everything froze. You were saying you were having a difficult time, and then we did the continuation.
Yes, something is making also a terrible noise on my side. I don't know if you can hear it. So then I picked up this book, which I have in my library, but which I haven't read in about 20 years now. And I remember that Vonnegut is an author that always made me feel good about the world, and gave me a little bit of hope in the decency of human beings. So I started reading it, and at some point I realized that I'm reading it out loud, sort of a little child behavior. And since I don't have my family next to me anymore, and definitely my mother has stopped reading for me for about 35 years now, I started reading out loud to myself to comfort myself. And I don't know why I thought about this. I said, I'm just going to record the goddamn book. I'm just going to sit for the next 4 days, and I'm just going to read it, and that's going to be the piece, because what this guy says is a lot more relevant and more helpful. And it's not that the world is missing audiobooks, because I don't think the world is missing audiobooks, but it's just going to be me, this little stupid person, in my own little stupid life, that's reading for myself, and maybe hopefully for someone else, not to the pretense of creating an audiobook, but more like you would ask a friend or to read for you, or even like your mother used to read for you, to put you to sleep or to comfort you. And also maybe this comes from the fact that as brackets, I do listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do fall asleep with podcasts, and I think it's this thing a little bit, going back to a safer period in my life and in life in general, where you just go to sleep and somebody would be there to comfort you, to read you a story. And what happened the next day, I was talking to a friend of mine, because most of everything that I do comes actually from collaborations and from shared ideas. And she proposed that we go to the street and we just ask people to read from the book, and we debated it for a little while. Then we moved on, because we work on project of our own. And then I decided the next day that no, I'm just going to ask random people to read from the book, and my friends or people that I don't know, but probably I'm not going to go in the street, although I ended up going in the street also. So I divided the book into 256 parts, which I randomly assigned to people, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see how enthusiastic everyone was about it, because I think everyone found it a little bit of a game, and people like games, and everybody liked the mystery of it, because fragments being randomly assigned, no one knows exactly what the story is about. And I think also people have are quite fond, and especially nowadays, to be part of something bigger, literally in this sense. I have this 3, 5, 7 minutes, but actually it's going to be a lot longer. But I'm a part of that. If that answered the question.
But first, actually, I wanted to go back to what you said in the beginning about reading to yourself. But before, you mentioned that your family, your parents, your mom are not living in the same city as you do, so you don't have a lot of chances to, hug and hear that voice. We didn't talk about it before, but when you mentioned it, I realized, since the war started, I have a need to talk to my mom almost every day. I'm not used to this, but I wake up and I want to hear her voice. And the thing that you said about, going back in the memories when you were very well protected by your little world and your mom and, in these books. But it's not even that much about literature, about books. It's about this repetition, and it's going to happen. And no matter what, you're going to get, your quiet moment before going to sleep. I think that's, for me personally, also to know, that it was one of the emotions that you had, is very touching. And yesterday when I was listening to the piece, my boyfriend woke me up at around 3 o'clock. I had, I think it was almost 4 hours of children's cruising, and I slept very well. You know, it was so nice to sleep into my dream with, especially this mosaic of different voices, and every new, you know, it was like meeting people. I don't know how. Of course, it was about the book. Also, I started rereading it on paper, and then I switched to the audio piece from the same place. But it had a totally different effect because every voice had its own accent and intonation, a little bit of background noises, and some were sounded like extremely professional. I was like almost afraid to know, like, oh my God, who are these people that Ioana was working with? And then others were so vulnerable and so kind of family-like. No, not my family, obviously because of different accent, but it could have been, you know, my aunt or a cousin of mine. And then I remember I kept kind of waiting for these new appearances and new qualities and female and male and kind of more low and very strong accents, which also sometimes, you know, it's like you don't understand much anymore, but you're in love with this, you know, temperament of a voice. And it felt also like meeting people, just what I said, but also a bit like time travel, because that makes it very, very eliminating. And I think that works perfectly with the kind of eliminating motif of the book itself, that it is a time travel. And then I guess it in some way makes the descriptions of the war and of suffering not that intimidating for you as a reader. And I think this use of different voices, fragmented voices, was, you know, even kind of having a multiplying effect on that.
What a beautiful analysis of the book, and yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's actually written like this. It's written as small little fragments. The fragments I didn't invent. They belong to the author. He wrote it like this, and I think you've described it better than I ever could. That was his intention, this sensation of alienation. And also what he mentioned in the beginning of the book, which I had the arrogance of reading entirely as if I were the author himself. He says, he talks about the book, he talks about finishing the book 20 years after he started it. In the beginning, he thought he was going to write a fantastic, great book about him surviving Dresden and about war. But it took him 20 years to realize how pointless that was. And he describes this book as a failure and of being pointless, because he says, what is there to be said about a massacre? There's nothing to be said, because everyone's supposed to be dead, and no one is supposed to say anything, and it's only the birds that have something to say. And what do the birds say? What do the birds say? And the birds say things like "putty wheat," which is actually the last fragments of the book. And that's why I'm also using birds in my book, because to explain how this whole thing was constructed. So I have here, I don't know how much you can see, 256 fragments of the book. Those that are crossed out definitively, those are the ones who are red. But then I have other crosses in finer lines. Those are the people who promised that they will read, and for some reasons they didn't. And in the beginning, you know, you have this ambition. I have this thing. It became almost an obsession. I have this puzzle. The puzzle needs to be completed. And then I realized that I cannot reassign fragments that were already given, because that would go exactly against what this book is all about, and it would go exactly in the lines of what I find a little bit the dehumanization of the times where we are living, with this hyper-capitalism that we are living, where everyone is replaceable. Okay, you're not good enough, you couldn't do it now, not a problem, we have 100 more waiting in line, because I could have replaced them. So then I decided everyone that promised to read and didn't get a chance to read because of, I don't know, life, I'll just replace them by birds, because yeah, you should feel that there's a gap there, but there's not another human that can read in your place. You were there, and yeah, you couldn't be there, but you still have the birds saying the silly things that birds say.
I didn't expect it until we already had the link streaming, because I remember I offered you also to bring one more person to fill these gaps. You know, I was like, yeah, I know, I'm going to be helpful here. But in the end, when I read also in the text accompanying the link that people will not be replaced because nobody is replaceable, and these birds, and when I was experiencing as a sound piece, I was like, my God, you know. Of course, this gesture is also quite empathic and humane, but also as a sound experience, it works kind of perfectly. It gives you this, you know, this to the outside suddenly that you don't expect, and then next time you almost, you know, you're waiting for it to happen again.
Yeah, I discovered there is one voice in there when I was trying to replace people, and it's true that I replaced one fragment with a robot. There's an AI somewhere in there reading a short fragment, and then I found it very, very wrong. And funnily enough, then someone sent some recordings to me, which sounded even more AI-ish than the AI itself. So it's very difficult to tell some people from in certain recordings from the fake one. The fake one actually sounds pretty natural.
Cool. I'm not sure I encountered yet the AI one, but I'm going to be attentive with my ear when I continue listening already without sleeping with it. And so there were a lot of people, right, who sent you their voice recordings.
Yes, it was a very peculiar experience because a lot of the people I don't know. It started with some friends reading at my place. They came, we had a great time. They read from the book, we had fun. And then a lot of them said, but we know more people, we could ask them. So then I wrote this introductory text, and then we sent the emails around. And a lot of people, I don't know these people, I don't know who they are. And they sent me emails and said, that's a great idea, we would like to read. And then I sent them the random fragments, and some of them responded immediately, absolutely fabulous. Some of them kept me waiting until the last moment. So a lot of the people in there I don't know. And then there are random people in the street that read from the book as well. It's also my way of getting out a bit easy, because I was thinking at a conversation we had yesterday, and what all these collaborations mean for me, because this is not my piece, definitely. First of all, it's Vonnegut's, and it's all the people that read. You feel at some point that and you feel it strongly that you are definitely limited, and it's a little bit my way of spreading my antennas and being larger than what I actually am.
You're
because
right.
Alone, I think I would be a lot more of a sadder human being.
For me personally, at least the time that I know you, you do a lot of collaborations, and collaborations is also, it's quite a broad concept. Yeah, if I go back to, let's say, your music career as a musician, you know, you always probably play with people, but there are roles, you know, and sometimes it's almost equal. Other times there's solo. Other times, let's say, you're accompanying a beautiful instrument. So there are always, let's say, the different dynamics within the projects that you, Ioana Mandrescu, are participating in. And I was, you didn't mention yet that when you already talked, I was super pleased, happy to know that you can ask me also to bring my voice as part of this project. And I'm just wondering if this, you know, togetherness that was created with this collective effort, this togetherness is also something that helps us to, to deal with the situation right now. We're talking now kind of broader than this. They have immediate situation, the war, the conflict, the suffering of the people, because we went there straight from being very isolated, right? Of being almost for 2 years and not able to see each other properly and hug properly. And now on top of that, there is also, a lot of things that everybody has to deal with, and togetherness in a way is something pacifying in the moments when you almost think nothing will calm you down. Chapeau on that. I also wanted to go back to another project that I think maybe is important to mention that you were part of, and this is a project that happened in Mosul in Iraq. It was a film workshop, film school in Mosul, and between November 21 and February 22, you've been going there with their whole team of people and film people, and you were responsible for the sound part of this workshop, where you were making individual films with the film students in Mosul. I can imagine, I remember receiving a few photos on WhatsApp from you when, of course, I guess many people ask you to share how does it look. And the things that you sent, it was uncomfortable and uncanny in a way, like to ask for it, because you ask without, let's say, without understanding that you get this souvenir from a place that you know nothing about, and when you see it, the first thing is like what I'm looking at, because I don't even understand. Is this building or are these ruins? How you totally feel not connected in this kind, not in a sweet connectedness way. You feel so good, sitting in your comfy chair or sofa and having your coffee, and you almost feel like, oh my God, what did you just do? I had some pictures like they were postcards, yeah, but from these kind of places, it's a bit painful to see the images and, still feel that you're very comfortable, very safe while looking at them. Okay, I'm going to cut my talking here, but I would like you to tell a few things about how was that project going for you, how going back and forth between Iraq and Belgium was working, and also maybe there was it also maybe created a certain context for this latest piece to
come. For sure, it had an influence in the motivation for it influenced the motivation for this, using this book. Funny to say, I feel like I don't have too much right to talk about too much about I can talk about the project in Iraq, but I can't really talk. I can't really talk about Iraq because I realize I don't actually understand what happened there. It looks. It's a horrible thing to say. The city is completely in ruins. The old city. And from a European romantic perspective, it almost looks beautiful. All those ruins look beautiful. So you're there. It's obviously it's a catastrophe. There are no words to describe it, and you're there. You're still thinking that this looks fantastic. Not so many places on the planet like this, and. It's a little bit like what you were saying. You're on your couch and then you receive these pictures, and it's almost this voyeuristic attitude you have towards it, because you definitely don't understand it, and you have no idea why those people there are so happy and so nice and so normal, because you think that everyone should be crazy out of their mind. So I would feel highly hypocritical if I would have very definite impressions about the project in Iraq. Strictly from a pragmatic point of view, it was fantastic to be there, and it was great to work with young people there, because they are so unbelievably enthusiastic, and they're so present, and they're so alive, and they have tons of ideas, of course, a little bit all over the place. And that was amazing to see, because here, where we have access to absolutely everything, of course, we can choose, but that everyone knows. We're very picky about everything. They were actually hungry for everything that we had to say, or we had to give them, and I think I've gained a lot more from them. They of course they learned something from me, but as how much they fed me and made me feel useful, I think I'm the winner in this interaction. And the result of this project, this film workshop in Mosul, were 9 beautiful short films. Some all of them very good, and some of them quite impressive.
Are there any screenings coming?
Definitely, but the dates are not yet set. The first screening, official screening, needs to happen in Mosul, and then we hope that the films will end up in some festivals, and they definitely deserve it, individually, but also as a collection, because what's very beautiful about them is that they do work separately, but they do work as a collection, because they're short films made by a very young generation, and a very peculiar generation, because this is a generation that lived outside of any school system or any normal interaction for quite a while in the most important years of their lives. And completely isolated, and so they're witnesses to a very peculiar generation, and I really hope they will do well, and they will get to see as much promotion as they can see.
I would like also to help in any way I can, and see maybe if we put some collective effort, we could also, always find a place where it can be screened as a special program by itself, all the films together. So you think the team, the workshop team, might go again to Mosul for the screening?
If the team will go to Mosul, I'm sorry, there's some...
I was asking if you guys as a team gonna probably go back to Mosul for the screening, or...
At least part of the team will have to be there for the screening, for sure. Not only for the support, and because they were our students, but also for the technical parts, and definitely because this is a project of anti-Ghent in collaboration with UNESCO, and I know that what is wished by anti-Ghent is to have a continuity, because even this project comes as a consequence of another project that Milorau and anti-Ghent had in Iraq in 2019-2020.
Well, I hope there will be more spin-offs and more continuations to this project coming. I will use the last few minutes maybe for questions from the audience. I see at least Daniel was quite active previously. Maybe you have a question for Ioana that you can type as a comment, or I also see you again if he's still there.
Well,
while we're waiting for hopefully some questions to come in, I just want to encourage people to go and start listening to Children's Crusade, because it's gonna take you some time, but you can also, like Ioana suggested, take it as a podcast or even as a good night storybook, and use tonight and tomorrow for getting to know this collecting reading piece. Yay, from Daniel. So, what's coming next, Ioana?
So there are two projects that I'm very much involved with right now. One is a collaboration that started 2 years ago with the Norwegian artist Kjersti Geanvik. We are working on a recreation of a Wagner opera. It's using only samples of the human voice. It's a huge project. It's going to result in a very large piece of about 5 hours, 5 hours and a half, which will be presented as a concert or as a multi-channel installation of about 35 to 50 speakers. So this is one project that we hope will be ready by December 2023. And the other one I'm only starting now is a personal research on sonification of scientific data, and it has a starting point, the electrical signal of my heart. It's called Takotsubo. That's the working title. And the idea for this project came from the fact that I suffer from this very mild heart condition that needs to be checked every year. So every year I have to wear this machine, and I have electrodes placed in 5 places of my body. So then you get the mapping of the heart from five different areas. And of course, everyone who has had an ECG, which is everyone, knows that it does look like a score. It has all the indications of a score. It even has volume and height, and you can even interpret dynamics from it. So then I decided that I would like to start a little research on this, and this I would like to mention because it's a funny story. The name of the project, Takotsubo, it has two meanings. One is a medical one. It's a temporary heart condition that affects mostly women in moments of big shock or high emotional trauma. So the heart muscle gets enlarged and starts having the shape of a takotsubo, and takotsubo is a Japanese vase used to catch octopuses. So the heart, for a while, gets the shape of this vase, and then after a while, when I guess the wounds are starting to get healed, the heart gets back to its normal shape. And it affects mostly women. I think it's 70% it's women that get affected by it. Men seem to be less, a bit more immune.
Super curious to see the steps on the way to the way of making this research. Once I heard the Takotsubo, but also octopus, somehow in my head it started sounding like a science fiction score. So I would really like to ask you, Ioana, to keep us updated. And next time when we make a Pulse program, I hope you can already share something with us in this or that way. Thank you again, Ioana, for joining.
Thank you, Alina, for your wonderful questions. And good luck to everyone for the weeks to come. Looking forward to hearing all the other pieces, because we have 5 more, I guess.
We have totally 8 weeks of programming. And now I'm going to say a strange thing, because I'm going to invite you to come next Saturday to have a talk with me, and also to remind Ioana that you also have to come because you're going to be interviewing me. So me and Ioana, we see all of you next week on another artist talk. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ioana.